In heaven, you form them clear and precious and beautiful. Usually, you can only see the moon and stars at night. The stars shine their own light, like our sun. But the moon, well, it reflects the light of the sun. It's like a night light to show you the way in the dark. This next story is about two boys. One broke his leg and was in a terrible fix. The other boy didn't know what to do when he grew up. You could say they were both in the dark. But along came Father Solanus. And like the moon reflecting the light of Jesus, everything changed.
Mrs. Merling was a wonderful mother. She loved her children and held them close to her heart. One day, her son Raymond was in a serious car accident, and his leg was badly injured. They rushed him off to a hospital where the doctors tried to save his leg. But the bones were fractured so badly that the doctors made plans to cut off Raymond's leg. He would be crippled for the rest of his life. And in those days, finding a job with only one leg would be almost impossible. Raymond's mother was a devout Christian who prayed to God to save Raymond's leg. But she also knew about Father Solanus. One of her uncles married Father Solanus' oldest sister, so he was family. But Father Solanus was very old and not able to see people as he had done in the past. But that did not stop Mrs. Merling. The Sunday before Christmas, she arrived at the Detroit monastery door with her younger son, Richard. She begged one of the brothers to get a meeting with Father Solanus. Father Solanus was so happy to see Raymond's mother and his younger brother, Richard. He remembered many wonderful stories about their two families from when he was younger. Mrs. Merling and Father Solanus' mother were very good friends. She remembered how sad his mother was because she didn't get to see her son for 8 years when he first became a friar. You see, traveling long distances back then was very hard and expensive. So Mrs. Merling was glad her son Raymond had not become a friar. Mrs. Merling looked at Father Solanus and said, "Raymond's leg is injured so badly. They want to cut it off, and I'm scared for him." Father Solanus just said, "Oh, don't worry, he'll be all right. The doctors will not have to amputate his leg." "What?" said Mrs. Merling. "How can that be possible?" Father Solanus saw how upset she was, so he decided to get out his violin and play some songs for them. But when Father Solanus began to play a tune called Mother McCree, she noticed that the other friars in the room got up and left with their hands covering their ears. You see, Father Solanus couldn't play the violin very well, but God didn't care, and little Richard Merling thought the music was just fine. It was Father Solanus' love that was important. When the family was ready to leave, Father Solanus asked Raymond's mother if he could bless her and Richard. She said, "Yes, of course." So with a special relic of the true cross and the 12 apostles, Father Solanus blessed Mrs. Merling. And when he blessed Richard, he did something more. He slowly laid his hand on Richard's shoulder and looked into his eyes. Little Richard Merling looked back at the elderly priest and smiled. At that moment, Mrs. Merling's heart broke. She knew Richard would become a friar, and she was worried she would not see him for years and years. And just as she expected, God called little Richard to become a Capuchin years later. But by then, traveling by car had improved so much that Richard's mother saw her son often. So, what happened to Raymond's leg, you ask? Well, just like Father Solanus said, there is nothing to worry about. Raymond's leg healed, and the doctors did not need to cut it off after all. To this day, Raymond has that leg to stand on, and Richard stands strong in his vocation as a Capuchin brother.
We're done! We're done! We're done! Handshake!
Blessed be God in all his designs.